Good day, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to part 2 of this new boat day two-parter. This time we're looking at the Waka G.O.A.T. This is my first impressions of the Waka G.O.A.T. I should have said last time I am very grateful to Yuri from Radical Rider, who I got this boat from. A huge blessing since my ripper cracked a couple of months ago, or a month and a half ago, and I have been at a loss as to what boat to get to replace it. And Yuri's very kindly allowing me to try out the Waka G.O.A.T. So this is my first impression, getting on the water with it on the Upper Dart yesterday with, of course, Team IR, UK MVP, Andrew Bonney, and Ruby Rubes, the most important member of the team, running along the bank alongside us. And yeah, heading downstream. I absolutely love this boat. Instantly, the connectivity from the Waka outfitting is phenomenal. Just those molded in thigh hooks, which give you so much twitch control over the edge to edge transitions, tiny little micro adjustments of edge, which make so much difference. You can control this boat with your thighs, basically. Like, you can tell it where you want it to go just by twitching your legs one way or the other, just raising a knee, lowering a knee, and just adjusting ever so slightly. It is definitely going to be a learning process, getting used to that twitch control, which, yes, has been present in other boats that I've used, but not to the same degree. And so relearning, I suppose, to actually engage my lower core, lower half, and make use of it is going to be a good challenge using this boat. Interestingly, for a boat that is wider than the small ripper, it didn't feel particularly wide. It still felt like it had that same kind of narrowness and length and speed, carrying its speed pretty well. Now, in part, that probably comes from the fact that the volume is slightly higher. You sit slightly higher by the feel of it, and I think that's going to be advantageous in a creek environment. The downside, of course, is that the tail especially is a lot less playful. It's definitely wider on the tail, which means that when it does get vertical, as you'll see later, it is very stable. However, because there's more volume there, it's less of a playful boat. Not that I consider the Ripper to be especially playful, but this boat is very much designed as a river runner, the Waka G.O.A.T. But a river runner that is capable of actually making those nice, swift, nimble moves on the river, little pivot turns and things like that. That is what the low volume tail in this G.O.A.T. seems to be tailored towards, is swift maneuverability on the river and even on fairly chunky whitewater. I'm very much looking forward to, one, getting this out on some steep stuff on the Lynn at some point and seeing how it performs in my backyard environment, and two, getting this out on some big volume, because I think it will really shine there as well. We had an absolutely stunning day yesterday on the Upper Dart. Good water levels, sort of low end of medium, maybe you could call this, and sunshine. So many birds out, loads and loads of grey wagtails and dippers, which was just a delight to be blasting down, and great to catch up with Bonnie as well. It's always good to be out on the river with people who push you to try different things, push you to try moves, and generally share the enjoyment of the learning process, challenging yourself and ensuring that you don't stagnate. It's good to have people around you that will help you in that respect. As you can see, this boat boofs phenomenally well, which shouldn't be a surprise. There is so much rocker, and it carries its speed very well as well, which just all adds together to make it a boat that will ride really nice and high and dry. But I found, and I hope that I will continue to find, that this boat seems to encourage me to have good form in my paddling. It keeps me up on the deck and seeking to really rotate through my strokes. So I'm hopeful that this will be a good boat for me in that respect. It surfs amazingly well, as you can see here. Just effortless carving, that same twitch edge to edge, making it such a breeze to maneuver on the wave and to handle capably, and yet having not so much volume in the stern that you couldn't dip the stern under the white water of the wave to get those turns really nice and snappy. So an overall win there for the Waka G.O.A.T. One thing I will say is I definitely found the edges to be a challenge, and I'll probably continue to be learning how to use the edges effectively, because I did seem to trip up quite a lot, and that may be just because the edges are really quite sharp, but that will be something to learn. The edges, especially the edge behind the paddler, seems to be quite sharp. As I said, really great to be out on the water with Bonnie. He's someone who challenges me, and we were able to challenge each other a little bit. Here you could see Bonnie was paddling, surfing the wave, and then closed his eyes and carried on surfing and was testing himself. And so I was like, oh, I can raise you one. I'm going to paddle onto it with my eyes closed and then surf it, which, as you can see, wasn't a perfect success the first time. We both failed to get the wave with our eyes closed and had to dial it in, which is good. Paddlers need to have those challenges like that to help us to progress, to learn the environment better, to learn what we are perceiving. And it's great to kind of shut off our main method of perception as human beings, which is our eyes, and to learn to use feel and even sound to help us in navigating the river. So yes, grateful to be out on the water with Bonnie, grateful to be with somebody who is willing and excited to test himself and me. Another example of that is just making fun little moves. I absolutely adore this move here, where you get the bow up and over this curler and then into the eddy on the opposite side. Such a lovely, lovely move on Lucky Tour. And then one of my favourite moves to do, oh look at that move, Bonnie smashed it. One of my favourite moves used to be in the Ripper, or in a boat where I was confident getting the tail down, was paddling across to the other side into the seam here, and then pirouetting down the Lucky Tour rapid and turning it just in time to land the nose of the boat on the pile of the hole at the bottom, which I attempted here and summarily failed because I underestimated how difficult it would be to get the tail down on this boat. But like I said, it's all going to be a learning process, so that is all good. If you are here for the first time and you are enjoying this first impressions content that I've been putting out, then please do consider subscribing, hit that notification bell to make sure you know when I've got new videos coming out, and drop a like and perhaps a comment down in the comments saying where you are in the world, what rivers you are enjoying paddling at the moment, what boats you're enjoying paddling at the moment, and maybe if you are a person who is in the sort of small to medium size category, what boat recommendations do you have for me? Because I would love to hear them. All right, with that said, let's get back to it. Something you can see me experimenting with a lot here is minimizing my strokes and just seeing how the hull performs without too much external influence from me paddling. And oh boy, it's phenomenal. It tracks really, really well, and as I said, if I want to change that track, I can sort of twitch with those thigh braces and adjust. It's just so lovely. As a rule, it seems very stable on edge, especially with all of that volume in front of the paddler. As long as one keeps the weight forwards, it does seem to be pretty stable. However, I definitely noticed that if I was sideways on in a hole, which did happen a couple of times further downstream once the camera had sadly died, then it was very easy for water to pile up on the back and catch those back edges. And perhaps that is just something to learn. I need to crank on more edge with this boat, I don't know. But it definitely seems like, because of perhaps the width at the back, there's a lot of a sort of plate that can scoop up water and get caught. So just worth being aware of. You can see here, even in this hole, I didn't fully rotate and it kind of tripped a little bit on the edge. However, it's that primary edge that trips, and it then has a lot of secondary stability. The side walls are so high that it has a really decent amount of secondary stability, and you can kind of catch yourself there and come back from that, which I was quite impressed by. And speaking of the width in the tail, this is where that comes into play. When you actually do find a seam that makes getting vertical easy, there is so much width in the tail that it is very stable once it's up on end. It didn't seem to want to stay there particularly. I think it would take a lot of effort to keep it there, but it was perfectly stable in terms of lateral movement, which I was very impressed by. So there you go, that is my overall first impressions of the Waka G.O.A.T. Thank you so much for tuning in, and I'll see you in the next one.